So the forgotten rune word. Is that something that still exists, or like it's a rune word that they removed from the game? We'll see.
Before the most powerful rune words were added to the game, there was another rune word that was dominating the Diablo 2 meta. The story behind this
That's not a rune
long-forgotten
word,
item
is it?
is a...
I guess it kind of could count as a rune word. No, it is a rune word because you cannot have all resistance for 76. It's a good rune word, I guess, because you have 3 sockets. So you put only et, it make the it bow, and then you can put 4 sockets in it. That is incredibly good.
The story behind this long-forgotten item is a haunting piece of D2 history, and one that may still have exploit implications to this day. This is the dark history of
Okay.
In patch 1.09, Diablo 2 was mainly a PvP game. There was no D-Clone or Uber Tristram at that time, and 99 was sort of meant to be...
I thought it existed for the longest time. I thought like LOD, maybe that is not an LOD, this is maybe just D2. No, because if this is a rune word, I don't know. Did it say when?
In patch 1.09, Diablo
1.09. Because if he's showing Lord of Destruction, I'm going to guess it is. So I thought Ubers actually came with Lord of Destruction. So it was a bit later then.
2 was mainly a PvP game. There was no D-Clone or Uber Tristram at that time. And 99 was sort of meant to be this unachievable level. So most online players eventually hopped in the Blood Moor and dueled each other.
That's early
Some of the
2000.
nastiest hacked items existed during this time and were worth quite a bit. But if you mustered up enough Stones of Jordan, you might be able to trade for one of these.
Okay. And it. Oh. So it's like it's a weapon that already is called it. So we can almost call it a unique. So it's like a unique item that has not all of these stats, but have certain stats. And then also has 6 sockets. Wow.
This is technically a rune word called Ith, and it came in a few different forms. But there's no Ith rune in this item. In fact, there are no runes at all.
Yeah.
So why is this called Ith, and how is it a rune word? How is any item a rune word? That might sound like a silly question to a seasoned Diablo player, but not when you realize that the real answer is flags. Every item has a flag. Some even have multiple flags. No, not those kind of flags. Programming flags. These types of flags are not visible to players, but they tell the game whether an item is identified, whether it's ethereal, and of course, whether it's a rune word, among other things. Technically, the only thing an item needs to do is raise one little flag to let the game know it's a rune word. From there, the game checks its ID and slaps a label on it. Now, of course, something naturally has to happen.
There was an it Like, were you able to teleport?
Checks its ID.
I don't think you were able to.
Flag to let the game know it's a...
No, you can't. That is literally just a Ethereal's Might, but as the Ja Idbur in it. All right.
Rune word. From there, the game checks its ID and slaps a label on it. Now, of course, something naturally has to happen in order for the rune word flag to ever get raised in the first place. The correct base item must have the proper runes placed into it in the exact order. When the game sees this, it then adds rune magic to the item, which is all the other abilities in addition to what the runes themselves actually do. And when that's done, the game flips that rune word flag of approval, bringing us full circle to where it checks its ID and slaps a label on it.
Okay.
But what if the game never finds a match when it checks the ID? And that, my friends, is where the magic happens.
Okay.
According to the game engine and most programming logic, flags don't lie. So if the runeword flag is true, the game has to display a name. When trying to ID one of these things, the game relies on what's called an index lookup, which basically uses the runes inside along with the base item itself as data to try to find a match. But when that function fails, it speaks programming language back to the game and says, this must be the element in the ith position of this index. Because I can't find it. So the game, trusting the flag, proudly displays ith or ith as the name of the runeword. It's still programmed like that to this day. But making the index lookup fail like this is quite the process. It requires removing the runes from the item, but not with the Herodric Cube formula that D2 players are familiar with. Not only did that formula not exist in these days, but even if it did, causing this failure requires nefarious means. A small group of hackers used third-party programs to overload the game, send the right packets, and essentially make it forget that the item had runes in it. And with this exploit, the most godly items of their time were created. In PvP, items finally existed that helped the Barb and Amazon hit attack speed breakpoints efficiently while also delivering adequate damage. What a golden age it had truly become. I wonder what Blizzard had to say about all of this.
They banned them? The Rust Storm?
The Rust Storm was Blizzard's attempt to stomp out all the hacked items on the realm. It came in the form of an update, and this update shut down the Diablo 2 servers for several hours. When players were finally able to log back in, many people's characters felt rather naked. If items, along with some impossibly good trophies like this, were deleted. While it sounds like this was a one-time sweep of BattleNet, instead it was sweeping changes to the game's programming, forcing it to check the legitimacy of known hacked items. Now, once the game was triggered to check the runeword flag, which happened when you joined or left a game, if it failed during the lookup process, the item would essentially be deleted. And with one swift swipe of their hand, Blizzard had won, and they would never have to worry about these things becoming a problem ever again.
That's a smart way of dealing with it. So instead of having to like ban individually all the players that hasn't it in their inventory, they just create a code that instantly removes the item. That's a great way to adapt. That's really good.
Or would they?
No, the hackers never back down.
Storm,
if they can hack, if they find a way to hack, they will hack. That's
Blizzard
how it works.
Released the most influential patch in D2 history. Prior to this patch, players had to literally break the game to put the power level of other classes on par with the sorceress. But all of that was about to change. New and powerful runewords were added to the game. And while if items might have defined the previous era, these new additions would define the game's entire future.
Is that where they had it? Yeah, Enigma. Someone could probably say that this item probably broke the game in a certain way. Not broke the game, but literally changed the game forever.
Response to the balance issues that ith items aimed to solve. Many of them were more powerful and addressed lackluster attack speed breakpoints that made ith items feel so good in the first place. This was also the patch where Enigma was introduced. This new runeword was very game-changing. It allowed any class to use the sorceress's teleport skill, the most powerful mobility skill in the game. With new uniques, new skill synergies, and more, this was no doubt the patch that made Diablo 2 the game that players know it as to this day. 2 years later, the final runeword additions to the base game were added. And then it was quiet for a while.
Wait, Treachery was one of the last runeword? That is like a new one? I guess it makes sense because Treachery is one hell of a good runeword.
Diablo 2, quiet is a subjective term. Of course, there was item duping here and there, new bugged items that popped up. But fast forward 7 years, and ith items had been patched for far longer than they ever existed at this point. But around that time, this post appeared in an online forum, and players would soon be reminded of the infamous items of yesteryear. While I tell you about this wild occurrence in D2, I'll also tell you about the wild things happening right now on G2A, the site where you can get all of your digital entertainment at massive discounts. Around the time of patch 1.13c, there was a breakthrough. Once again, with the use of third-party programs, packet sniffing, and some new tricks, hackers could create an ith item in-game. This was no easy task. They would essentially mind the game into, you guessed it, forgetting that there were runes in the item. From there, they could send certain packets and make it so that vendors would sell you the ith items. And while that was insane, they weren't nearly as insane as the discounts you can get from vendors on G2A. G2A, or Gate to Adventure, offers everything from software to video games to gift cards and more, all at unmatched prices and with instant delivery. If you enjoy trying out popular titles that pop up throughout the year, this will save you a bunch of money.
It's actually a good website, to be honest. Like I've used this one in the past. Like it's a good website. You can buy, it's basically new games. They just give you like the code, you enter it, and then you can buy the game at a discount. It's actually pretty good.
Have an app so you can access deals on the go. And now they have something called G2A Plus. For literally 8 cents a day, you can get a free game key every month, 10 items at 10% off their already discounted prices, and more. I've posted a link in the pinned comment that will take you straight to some wild discounts. I also enjoy trying out games on this site, so let me know about the best deals that you find. D2 hackers made it so you could temporarily hold an ith item which you purchased from an in-game vendor. This was wild because it allowed you to interact with the hacked item. But as you might already know, there was a big problem. Ith items fail the lookup test when you leave and get deleted because of the rust storm coding. Good luck slamming your favorite jewels inside of it. That wasn't going to work. But in this rare instance in time where players could once again create ith items in game, was there a way to make them pass the lookup test? How could it be done? And was it even possible? It wouldn't be long before hackers would solve the puzzle and find a way to keep a version of these ith
let me think. Maybe shared stash? If the shared stash existed, maybe if you put it in your shared stash, it would not look it up because it's not on your character at the moment, maybe?
Items around forever.
Damn. Destruction?
These are hybrid rune words. When an item goes ith, it keeps its previous rune magic, and because it never stops being a rune word, that never gets rolled again. But it turns out that if you just create another rune word inside of an
There was never a shared stash in D2 LOD? Okay, so that was new, so I guess they found another way of doing it.
Item, instead of putting random jewels or runes into it, it just changes the name of the rune word. This might sound benign, but
oh, did they re-put the same runes inside? So that would like recreate the rune word, but with the extra power from the runes? That could be smart, actually. That could be actually really smart.
The implications of that are huge. This is because the runes themselves have unique effects on the item. The most powerful rune word, Enigma, was one of the most popular hybrid targets. You could turn it into a bone instead, and because of the 2 runes, Enigma would now have 30 to all resistance.
Okay, so they were not necessarily recreating the same rune word, but they were creating a rune word, so the game would recognize the item as a rune word anyway, but it would give different stats. That is insane. That is insane.
Instead of DR and extra life. Or if you needed faster hit recovery and resistances, you could make Enigma of Duress. There was even a low-level dueling version called Enigma of Peace, which was quickly banned in good-mannered LLD. But maybe you wanted your fortitude.
Do you need like level 60 or something like that? At least maybe 70 or 80 even to equip Enigma. So level 29 is insane.
To have even more resistances and damage reduction. In which case, Fort of Chains was very popular. People used to say that Spirit was broken for its rune cost. Well, how about Spirit of Phoenix? Now, only high rune.
you just turned spirit into a very, very expensive rune word. You need Vex Loja. Okay.
Are in it,
the end game.
A huge boost to max resistance.
Whoa, okay.
This is extremely broken when made in a pally shield. Here's mine that I still have on Battle.net. Grief was also a very popular hybrid target. There were so many of these rune words that existed, and to this day, many of them still do. Here's a look at some of the rarest ones I've ever seen.
A rhyme that requires level 29. Oh, okay. Oath with attack speed. Strength required level 30. Oh my god. I
created these items on D2R.
91% chance of open wound. That's not bad.
Remake of Diablo 2. That's because the coding still works like that to this day. Don't tell Blizzard, but I cheated a ladder-only item onto non-ladder, knowing this piece of if history that we talked about today. In an early season, new rune words were introduced in D2R, when a glitch was discovered that allowed players to make those new ladder-only rune words on non-ladder prior to the season resetting.
2 years ago.
Blizzard
he probably pulled that out for that video. Is that an old one? Yeah, 5 months ago. So that would be like a video that only dated 2 years ago. It's not that far.
Retaliated. They quickly patched it by removing Plague and the other new rune words from the lookup table on non-ladder. Doing this caused those items to fail the lookup test, display as if, and therefore be deleted as a player tried to load into a game.
I also lost a 15% ED near perfect flickering flame helm as well when they fixed that shit.
But having seen this before, I knew what to do. When the ladder reset, they would have to add those rune words back into the lookup table, or else legitimate players would lose their items too.
Yeah.
And as we know, the game only checks for if when you join or leave a game. So, for the rest of the season, I chose not to log in on any of the characters holding those illegitimate items.
Oh, so he kept them in, and when the ladder was over, he was able to log in on those characters. Oh, that's actually cool. Okay.
When the ladder reset, I still had those beautiful rune words I'd created. They're not as impressive now, but it turns out knowing a bit of history goes a long way.
Yeah, okay.
It's crazy
That's
to
actually
think
pretty cool.
that items like this, which lasted for a momentary blink in the game's timeline, could have such a profound effect even to this day. Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time to explore the dark history of Diablo.
Zod? Oh my god.
Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time to explore the dark history of Diablo 2. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next episode.
God damn. 8 isn't too much, at least in D2, the way it's scaled, you feel it when there's missing player. Yeah, true. I mean, the only thing is that it makes it a mess when you play with other players. In D3, I played kind of a lot of D3, I would say, and every time I would join a group of people, there was always one character that was way stronger compared to the other ones, and you would clear the entire map in like before you were able to do anything. So instead of feeling like I was playing a game, I was just feeling like I was running around to try to catch up to the dude that was killing faster than me. So if you have 8 players in a game, and we can agree that in D2R, it's possible to clear 8 players with a single character, right? Extremely fast too. So if you're weak or you're slower, you basically just run after the guy and you do nothing. And I feel that's so boring to me. To me, the best number would be 2 to 3 players, so you can maybe like go each your way. Like let's say you're doing Chaos Sanctuary, one is going in the middle, one is going left, one is going right, and then you can, after each of you are done with your own, you either go help the slower one, or you can look if there's any loot that interests you, and then you all meet for Diablo. And I think that makes it a pretty fun run to do in itself. But if you have to play with 8 players, I think to me it's boring. I don't like it. The point is that it's not 8, that it's too much, but the game was poorly designed. I guess you can say that, yeah. I guess you can say that. But it's a solo player game. So like it's designed to play together, but it's also designed to not be played with 8 player, I feel. So yeah, I guess you can say it's a design problem. It is indeed. But yeah, that's my problem with 8 players for these kinds of games, is that you feel a bit useless.